Hey Jackson, curious about our water system? Join the Jackson Water Academy to get the inside scoop on our water and sewer operations. 3 sessions, 3 months, and a whole lot of hands-on know-how. You'll even get a behind-the-scenes tour of the O.B. Curtis Water Treatment Plant. So if you're ready to dive in, head to jacksonwater.com/water academy or give us a ring at 601-500-5200 to apply. But hurry, spots are going fast.
Well, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for WLBT Plus. My name is Kara Shirley. I'm your digital news desk host. We are continuing our series here on interviewing one-on-one all of the candidates that are running for mayor of Jackson. Have a lot of people in the pool this time. Today, I have with me Mr. James E. Hopkins. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, you're so welcome.
I really appreciate you being here. He's going to tell us about his plans for Jackson. And, if there's anybody out there who may be not familiar with you, why don't you introduce yourself or kind of, the mic is yours for a second, I guess.
Okay. All right. I want to do a little short prayer before I get started.
Okay.
If it's okay. I like
Yeah.
to pray. Father God, in the name of Jesus, Lord, I thank you for this day. I thank you for this interview. I thank you for Miss Kara. Lord, I thank you for the opportunity to lead this great city of ours. And I ask, Lord, that you keep your healing hands over this city and everyone involved in it. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, introduce yourself to the people who may not know who you are.
Okay. I'm James Hopkins. I'm a lifetime citizen of Jackson, Mississippi. I have a nonprofit called Reset Jackson, and I can tell you how Reset Jackson started. It actually started as another organization started by me and my late wife. It was called the Hopkins Foundation. And what we did is we went throughout the city doing teen summits where we allowed our teenagers to speak with law enforcement, city officials, educators, and just anyone, regular parents that were able to come out and just listen to the concerns of our young people. Now, the way a lot of town halls go, you have your adults leading the meetings, but what we specialize in is we allowed our young people to actually lead the meetings, hold the meetings, and schedule the meetings. So it gave us a lot of input on how we could make this city better. And in doing that, I realized that our young people were suffering in this city because there's just not anything for them to do. There's been a lackluster leadership, in the past. I'm not going to say just the last 8 years. We have been losing our young people, for quite some time now. Mm-hmm. So I look at all the teen centers, community centers that have been closed down, all the swimming pools that have been closed down. And when you correlate that with teen crime, you see that there's something there where we had things for them to do. The teen crime wasn't as high as it is, so we have to get back to taking care of our young people. My goal is to reopen all of the community centers. Right now, I think we may have about 3 or 4 of them open. I don't want to give a false number, but I believe it's about 3 or 4 that's actually active. Now the city has, and I commend them on this. They have given a couple of those centers to community organizations,
Mm-hmm.
which is a plus instead of just having them closed. But I believe that every center in this city should be open. And once we reopen them, they shouldn't be just for our teenagers, because we also have to take care of our elderly. What I also want to do is I want to put computer rooms in for our elderly who want to get out and just come and, learn how to use the computers.
Right.
And also a cooling room, because in the summertime, we know Mississippi heat, it can get kind of crazy. So we want to also have a cooling room where they can come in throughout the day, and just stay cool, get on the computer, watch TV, and also, be fed.
And I hear you say all that, and it's great. There's great things and aspirations that you want to do, but I mean, from running a nonprofit, it's a hard job, and then running a city is even harder than that.
Right.
It's a big job.
Right.
Why do you want to be the mayor of Jackson and take all that on?
Well, the reality is, I never intended to run for any public office, but we have gone through sinkhole after sinkhole after sinkhole in this current administration. And if nobody is willing to step up and be that change agent, then what we're going to do is we're going to continue to sink. Now, I believe my work in the community qualifies me. I am a leader. I have been into every community. I've talked to the normal people, and everybody's normal, but I talk to the people who have been looked over. I talk to the have-nots. I say we're in the city of have and have-nots. I talk to the have-nots. I understand why crime is high in certain areas and not in other areas. So I'm that person that can go in and also unify, because I can work with Democrats, I can work with independents, and I can work with Republicans. In fact, I've worked with some Republicans on certain things. So I've also worked with legislators, state legislators. So this will not be an on-the-job training thing for me, except for maybe the civic part. But when it comes to truly caring about and understanding what it takes to fix the city, I believe I'm that person for the job.
What do you think are some of the biggest misconceptions about Jackson that people have or that the voters have?
Everybody thinks Jackson is just filthy. They think Jackson has gone beyond repair. And the truth is, I was speaking with a couple of students at Jackson State a couple of days ago, and we were watching the construction go on. And the reality is, Jackson is still beautiful. There's just so much blight and mess that it blinds the eyes, and people think Jackson is just a horrible city. And Jackson is actually a beautiful city. We just have to make sure that the entire city looks the same. We don't want it to look this way on one side of the tracks, and once you cross over the tracks, you have to look for the sign saying now entering. We
Right.
want people to know that you're in Jackson, regardless of where you go in this city.
And you talking about the blight, this one of the campaigns that we have for this year is highlighting the blighted areas in the city of Jackson. We're doing a series on it every day.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, every week for the entirety of 2025. So, what is your plan to help fix these blighted communities? Empty buildings, squatters going in, empty homes, all of this. What's your plans for that?
We're just going to have to shorten the leash on these landlords. We're going to have to shorten the lease on these property owners. They're going to have to keep these properties up, or we're going to have to take them legally. However we can legally take these properties, we're just going to have to take them before they turn into blight. And when we do that, we can sell them as surplus. I've seen the surplus sales with cars and things of that nature. We can sell these properties we have, because we're looking at somewhere between $5,000 and $18,000 to tear down a property.
Mhm.
Imagine if we could just sell that property for pennies on the dollar. We save that 5 to 18,000. Plus, we also bring in someone that's going to fix that property and then also bring the tax base back. So one of the main things we have to do is we just have to hold these property owners accountable. And I think they've been given way too much time, to straighten the buildings out. There's no reason why a property should be empty for 5 or 6 years and no one cuts the grass, no one paints the building, fix the roof. It's just unacceptable, and it's
Mhm.
been accepted. But under my administration, that's not going to happen anymore.
And how do you plan to involve the voters, the citizens of Jackson, in your decision making?
Okay, as far as the properties go, I have what I've been telling people, and everybody say, oh man, you crazy. You can never do that. If properties are owned by the city and they're at a point where we may have to tear them down, I'm going to sell those properties and land for 1 cent. I'm going to go back to what happened in 2015 under Mayor Tony Yarber. There was a program called the Good Neighbor Program, where people were able to purchase properties, in their neighborhood
Mhm.
for, I think it was like $50 when he did it. But apparently it didn't take off enough. So what I want to do is I want to sell them for 1 cent. And again, what that's going to do, I may be selling the property for 1 cent, but it's going to save the city $5,000 to $18,000 in the process. And we want to make sure that Jacksonians have the first options to buy these properties. Now, they're going to come with requirements. First of all, you can only do 3 things with those properties. You can clean them off, you can renovate them and live in them, or you can renovate them and sell them. One thing that you can't do is you can't rent it out, because the goal is to bring Jackson back to being a homeowners community, and you get affordable housing. If you're selling property for a penny,
Hmm.
surely they can sell their property for 30 or $40,000 to some senior, or to, a young person just trying to have their first home, and turn them into homeowners. But we don't want to just keep blighted property, and it's costing us money, it's costing the taxpayers money. But if we can do that, I believe we can slowly turn Jackson back into a homeowners community, and also bring in new tax revenue.
So you're saying with that program, they would not be allowed to renovate it and rent it out?
No, ma'am.
No.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Because what we don't want to do is what's going on now. We have churches, we have individuals who own 10, 15 properties, but they're not keeping them up. Or if they do have them, they're renting them out, but they're being slumlords instead of landlords.
Hmm.
And when people move out, instead of them boarding these properties up, they're leaving them unboarded. And again, people go in and start living in these properties. Then you can't get them out. And there goes the blight all over again. We have a lot of houses burning down for that very reason, because people go into these properties, they catch these houses on fire, then they just move on to the next one. So no, you will not be able to rent these properties out.
I have not heard anyone give that plan for the blighted communities. So, I mean, that could work. I suppose that could work if you do you believe that the citizens of Jackson would get behind you on that?
I believe the citizens who really want these communities better, and the ones who can't afford it. And the reality is everybody's not going to be able to afford. They may can afford that penny, but they may not be able to afford the properties. But the people who can afford those properties and understand and see the vision that I
Hmm.
have. See, I don't have ideas, I have visions. And the vision is that we fix this city up one community at a time. And I believe that those people will get behind us. And here's another thing. We're going to run it for Jacksonians only for about 6 months. If we still have properties, I will open that door, to people outside of Jackson, but the rules stay the same. You can clean it, live in it, or you can sell it. And I believe that's a great way, to fix this city. And I'm sure there are a lot of investors that would love to come in and purchase a 1 cent property,
Hmm.
fix it up for about 10 or $20,000 and sell it for 50 or whatever they want to sell it for. So I don't think it's a lose-lose situation. I just think people have to truly grasp the idea that this can really work for the city.
What do you think the biggest problem in Jackson is right now?
I think the biggest problem we have right now is no trust in leadership. There's absolutely no trust in leadership. I talk to people all the time, and the question I always get asked, are you going to be just like the rest of them when you get elected? And that answer is no. You can, well, what do you mean like the rest of them? Well, they all come around, they all lie, they all say they're going to do this, they all say they're going to do that. But as soon as they get in office, they do what they want to do. So I am who I am. I'm not going to change once I'm in office. If they tell me, say you're going to change and show your true colors when you're in office, you're looking at my true colors. So once I'm in office, I'm going to be the exact same person. The difference is, as the head of this city, I will be able to pull in more people, more like-minded people, and I will be able to restore the faith and trust in our citizens and for our citizens in leadership.
And that was one of my questions. How would you rebuild the trust for the citizens? But let's talk about rebuilding a trust with the state, with the government. The federal government had to come in and take over our water system here. I
Mhm.
don't know how high their trust is in the
Mhm.
city of Jackson. How are you going to reestablish that?
Honestly, I'm running for mayor, but my honest opinion, we need a total reset in Jackson. We need to clean house, city council. Well, there are a couple of city council members that I think, we probably should keep. But we have to change leadership totally. They don't just distrust the mayor, they distrust the council members too.
Mhm.
So I'm willing to sit at the table with whoever I need to sit at the table with and say, what can we do as a city to rebuild trust with you? Now, what I don't want to do is continue this two form of approval to receive our money, because Jackson is the only city that requires two forms of approval to receive state funding. And to me, that's absurd. It's absurd. With us being 82% black, it's easy for someone to say, hey, look, they're just doing it because we're black. And that could be true. It may not be true, but I'm not going to accept that if I don't have to accept it. Now, if there's nothing I can do about it, then we'll just have to work these next 4 years to prove to the state that we are worthy of losing that extra approval in order to get our funding. And we also have to be transparent with where every dollar is going. We can't say, okay, give us 500,000 and then come back 6 months later and say we need another 500,000. Here's $250,000 worth of receipts. We have to show what we're doing. We have to prove ourselves worthy. And I believe if we do that, we can get the trust of the state back.
Let's talk about the infrastructure of Jackson. We've got the roads that are in horrible shape, street lights out, a lot of roads. You'll tear your car up if you go down it too fast.
Right.
And then, of course, I mentioned the water system getting taken over. The infrastructure here in Jackson is crumbling.
Mm-hmm.
How do we reverse that crumbling state? How do you reverse that? What are your plans to make these things better?
Well, with that, and I'm just honest, that's going to be a process. It won't be fixed for the next 10 years. I can tell you that. But to reverse it, the first thing we have to do is we have to hold the people in charge of these projects accountable. My plan is to take the Public Works Department and put it with the Parks and Recreation Department, because neither of those departments are fully staffed. But we're budgeting for both departments. So I want to combine those departments, save a little funding, and we could use that for machinery and things of that nature. I talked about the graveyards, how overgrown they were about 6 months ago. And I found out in my research, we only had 3 people working the department to cut 7 graveyards in this city. That has to stop. It has to stop. When we're talking about fixing the infrastructure, we have to get a public works leader that, number one, wants to work for Jackson. I don't want to go out and search for somebody that wants to come here for a check, and when they get here and realize how bad it is, they want to leave. I want to get somebody that truly wants to work for Jackson, and I do have someone in mind when I'm elected. I already have someone in mind. We have to hold Jackson Water, who is doing a great job with the water system. So don't get me wrong, people. I know people jump, oh, they're doing a great job. They're doing an excellent job with the water system. But they're cutting all these streets out to fix the pipes. And they're leaving all these corners in the street and filling them up with rocks. People riding through these rocks after rain hit a couple times, and they're tearing their cars up. So we just have to make sure that the people who are doing these jobs are held accountable, but we have to have somebody over our public works department that's going to hold them accountable. And I will be holding that person accountable. But if we don't start somewhere, we're going to continue to fail.
That's true. But this stuff, it takes money. It takes
money.
How are we going to get new money into Jackson? Because it would seem that we apparently don't have enough money in Jackson to take care of these problems that are happening. So how are we going to bring in more money to fix them?
We have to find out what type of grants we can get, because there are grants out there for things of that nature. We also have to save the money that we have, put it where it needs to go. Stop wasting money on things that aren't important in this city. The best way to earn money is to save money. It goes back to what I was saying with my houses. We're going to save that 5 to 18,000. We can use that money for the Public Works Department. The lack of money cannot be an excuse for not getting the job done or not working. We don't have enough funding. You have enough funding for something. Let's do what we have the funding for. And we can go back and use that to try to draw in more funding from the state. And again, we have to have that relationship with the state too, because I believe the state and the county will come in and help us if they could trust us. I mean, we have issues with the county. We were talking about the state. Mm-hmm. We have issues with the county wanting to give us money. So we have to tap into every single resource that we have. And I believe grants are a part of it. And as a city, we may have to get a loan, but we have to get it done. We can't have the excuse, we don't have the money. We don't have the money. That's no longer an excuse. It was like that when I got here. That's no longer an excuse. Anything that's going on in this city now, I know it's going on. When I'm elected, I can't come back 4 years from now and say, well, it was like that when I got here. I have to show progress. I have to show that I understood when I took this job that I knew what was here. So that's how we're going to do it. We just have to do it. We have to do it.
And how are we going to fix the crime issues here in Jackson? I mean, I know you spoke about reopening the community centers, giving these kids around here something to do and pouring into them in a more positive way. But the crime in Jackson is still a problem. What are your views on that crime, and how do you propose to take it in a more positive trajectory of going down?
We just have to keep working with Chief Wade, for one. I think he's doing a great job. We also have to tap into all of the nonprofits we have in this city, all the churches, all the community organizations. There has to be a coalition with everyone, community leaders. We need people who are actually involved with the young people in the community. And it may not be a community center, but when I was growing up, we had older people in the community that kept the young people in check. So we need our community organizations to actually be in the community, finding out what's going on. They should know all the troubled teens. Somebody should be talking to them. Somebody should be trying to mentor them. And we have to work with the police department. We have a great relationship, Reset Jackson. We have a great relationship with JPD. So I love the fact that, we talk sometime, we plan events out together, and we talk about crime in this city together. We go on our marches together. We go into communities together, but we should not be the only organization. Well, there are a couple of others, but every organization in this city, every church in this city should be outside of those four walls at some point, talking to people in the community and bringing that positivity back to the community. I don't want to jump on churches. I love God. I love God's people. But you got to open more than just Wednesdays and Sundays. You have to have church sometimes more than just inside of those four walls where people can drop money into a plate. Get out, serve the people. Do like Jesus did. Jesus didn't have a church. He walked. He walked everywhere he went, and he changed the world because he talked to the people. He didn't expect the people to come to him. We have to go where the people are. We have to go where our young people are. We have to go to the gas stations where they're hanging out. People shouldn't be afraid to go to the gas station. When my wife was here, I never let my wife get gas. I always got the gas for it because I understood. I didn't accept it, but I just understood this is what it was in Jackson. And we have to get away from thinking that just because things are common, that they're normal. Mm-hmm. And that's where we've gotten to in this city. We've taken the commonality and made it normality, and we can't move forward because, we're in Jackson. This is how it is. So we have to attack crime where it is. We can't stand at the steps of City Hall and hold a press conference and say, this is what I'm going to do. Attack it where it is.
And I hear you talking about getting the nonprofits and the churches and all of them more involved, but with the state of everything and those that have already been involved there's going to be a level of burnout. And they possibly already are burnt out. So how do you expect them to be able to give more when they've already been pouring and maybe their cup is empty too?
They need faith. They need faith. If they have a mission to fix this city, if their mission takes them into the streets, their job is to complete the mission. You don't burn out without completing the mission. When Abraham walked up the mountain to sacrifice his son, if he got burnt out walking up that mountain, he would have never found his ram in the bush that saved his son's life. I don't accept that as an excuse. Get out, complete your mission. If you're not going to complete it, don't start it. Don't start it.
How do you propose getting people to come back to Jackson to live here in Jackson, become a citizen of Jackson again, because so many have gone out to the suburbs and the
Right.
bedroom communities. And I know you talked about the plan for the blighted houses and things like that, but outside of that,
Mhm.
how do you propose getting people back here?
We're just going to have to clean the city up. We're going to have to get the crime numbers down. Certain things are just going to have to be done. The same things that ran them away are going to have to be reversed. And again, it's not going to be a 1 or 2 year cycle. Everything has to be done in steps. I can't look to the Super Bowl if I'm just in my second game of the season. So everything has to be done in steps. And we're going to work on getting the crime down. We're going to work on beautifying Jackson. We want to work on bringing in things like amusement parks and water parks, the Dave and Buster's and things of that nature. And that's going to make more people just want to come spend a little money here. And then as we clean the city up, we can offer affordable housing and things of that nature. We don't have a lot of affordable housing here because everything new coming in, they want to bring in $200,000 and $300,000 houses. Even in the middle of Shady Oaks, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Shady Oaks, right across the street from the medical mall. You want to bring in $200,000 and $300,000 houses where you have people who have been living over there 40 and 50 years. It's going to jack the property value up. We're going to lose some more people because they're not going to be able to pay it. But we have to, number one, let the cost of living in Jackson reflect what the crime numbers are, reflect what the beautification is. And we have to make those crime numbers lower, the beautification higher, make affordable housing. And I believe people will come back.
What are your plans for downtown Jackson? Do you have a plan for revitalization? Do you believe that it can be revitalized?
I think downtown is doing pretty good. I believe that Ferris Street needs to be revitalized. If you're going to revitalize anything downtown, revitalize Ferris Street. But again, I'm just honest. When I think about revitalizing Jackson, I love what we're doing downtown. I love what we're doing in Fondren. I love what we're doing in the district. But if we don't revitalize South Jackson, don't revitalize West Jackson, those areas that I just spoke of, they're going to end up falling too, because it's just like cancer. If you don't give these people anything to do, they're going to come to where all the action is. That's why East North Side Drive is having crime now, where 10 years ago, you didn't hear about that. You didn't hear about shootings downtown near the Capitol building 10 years ago. But those places that were ignored have begun to pour over into downtown. So what we have to do is we have to revitalize this entire city. And I want to keep what we have going in the district, keep what we have going downtown. I definitely want Ferris Street to be just like Beale Street or be just like Bourbon Street, because we deserve that. It used to be like that. That would be my top priority as far as revitalizing downtown. Beyond Ferris Street, I believe we have to start working on other parts of this city, the parts of this city that has been overlooked, and South Jackson being one of them.
We've had a lot of questions. You've answered a lot, and there may be some that I haven't addressed. So, talk to the viewers, those who may be considering voting for you. Leave them with a final message of why they should vote for you.
Okay, well, again, you've heard my platform. I'm a regular guy. I'm a 9 to 5 guy. I deal with the same stresses you all deal with. We have to get out of voting for the same type of people, the people with the tailored suits, the people who are on the ballot every election. We have to stop recycling these career politicians. It's time for new faces. It's time for a new idea. It's time to break away from voting for politicians and just vote for a leader. It's time to take the friendship, sponsorship out of leadership and reverse what's going on in this city. I don't owe anybody. I don't have a lot of sponsors. And that's the reason why when I get into office, the only people that I want to owe are the citizens. Check my track record. I fought for this city a long time, and I will not stop fighting. The difference is I'm going to fight within the city, and I'm not going to fight from City Hall.
We'll tell people to how they can get in touch with you if they want to be a part of your campaign, if they want to volunteer, if they want a bumper sticker or a yard sign, anything like that. How can they reach you?
Okay, my priority is Facebook. If you can contact me at Hopkins James on Facebook, but I also have a James E. Hopkins on TikTok, which I just started yesterday. I'm getting into
Did
the
you?
TikTok trend.
Are you dancing?
Hey, not gonna dance, but I'm gonna dance when I win. I will dance at the inauguration for everybody. But go ahead and follow me on those. Is it okay to get my number out, or is
Yeah,
that too much?
yeah, that's
And
up to
I'm gonna
you.
give you the number to Reset Jackson, so you can contact me through Reset Jackson. It's 769-251-9789. And what we have to do again, we have to make this city work for everybody. We can't just take the haves and keep them up. We have to take the have-nots and at least let them be able to touch a coattail. So that's what I want to do. And we want to make sure we're not kicking kids out of school forever. Keep our young people in school. If parents need help, we have mentors that can work with you as a family. We have social workers that can come in and work with you as a family. And all of this stuff I do with Reset Jackson, my goal is to make it a citywide thing to bring that hope, trust, and purpose back to this city.
Love it. Well, I appreciate you coming on today very much so. That is going to be the end of the WLBT Plus today, and we will be back. I won't say you normally say I'll be back tomorrow at 1. I won't be back tomorrow at 1, but I will be back Monday at 1, and we will have some more mayoral candidates that we're going to be talking to every day next week. So you want to make sure that you are tuned in at 1 o'clock right here every single day next week. 2:30 today, our first alert weather team is going to be in here to give you an update on the forecast. Warmer temperatures are in sight. Thank the good Lord for that. I'm tired of this cold. I'm so tired of it. But again, James, thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate it. You'll be able to check out this entire interview on our website, WLBT.com. In just a little bit before the afternoon is done, it will be there, as well as all of the other candidate interviews that we have done up until now. So with that, you guys have a great weekend, and I will see y'all on Monday. Bye-bye.